All right. It's been a minute, man. We are finally back to recording. October was crazy, I think, for both of us, but we're back before Black Friday. And there's been some like pretty cool things that have happened in the meantime. Shopify stock shot up 20% 2 days ago. We're not really going to talk about the earnings, but what I want to say about that is we're back, baby. We're back. The consumer is strong. People are going to shop. And so it's time to actually get excited about being in DTC again.
Yeah. And we see it too on, from the brand side, sales the last 2 weeks of October started to really pick up. Prime Day for us was phenomenal. And so far we're having a very strong November. We were up 30% on demand plan yesterday. And today we are up 30% again, day over day. So we are outpacing the
Let's
demand
go
that we had. Yeah. So, the one thing that it raises is, whoa, we're off to a really strong start in November. There was a strong sort of ending in October. Are people is that consumer behavior shifting down, right? As it continues to sort of grow. So I wouldn't be surprised if some people need to maybe consider pulling their Black Friday sales earlier, or if you just start to see upticks, right? Capture that demand while you can.
Totally. Yeah. I think people walked away. I don't want to over rotate on the earnings, but people walked away from Harley's remarks feeling very confident in the American consumer. So I think that it will hold. I mean, I don't want to do predictions or anything, but or get overly optimistic, but I think it'll hold. And I think that actually what happened is I think you said this actually from September Labor Day sales. I think that what was happening is just that the consumer is just being a little bit more cautious. And so they're doing a little bit of deal shopping, but actually they have the space in their wallet to spend. And so I think that's more what's happening. And so I think we're going to see I think we're going to see a good November. Yeah.
They need to feel good about spending the money. I think that's what it boils down to. It's a good offer. You present a good offer. They have the capital. They just don't want to. It's almost like reverse FOMO, where it's what's the fear of missing out if I buy right now versus if I just wait? So I think people should come out strong with their sales and promotions this month. But
yeah, totally.
Cool. Well, we were talking a little bit about I unfortunately haven't been as active on Twitter. Well, X, formerly Twitter, but I did see a couple threads. You mentioned one which stood out to me as well. Absolutely fascinating. And we see this a lot in D2C. It's sort of the debate that unfortunately doesn't have a lot of data behind it. It's grounded more on opinion. And, it's fascinating to me because when iOS 14 hit, I was under the sort of the school thought that the more signal you give the algorithm and the auction, the better you'll perform in the auction. So with regards to attribution setting / optimization setting, because the two ended up merging together, using 7-day click, 1-day view in my eyes was optimal because you were able to feed this
more data.
We're able to give it more data, which then allowed you to go and find those customers. And it was less about the incrementality behind it. It was more about just give the algorithm and signal to power through this iOS 14 disruption. I will say something did change. I need to go back and find the right date, but this year in 2023, and I want to say closer around June or July, the percentage of view throughs that were being reported back, grew 10x. So whereas before my ROAS on 7-day click was a 2.5, let's call it, and my view through was a 0.25. So I would end up with a 2.75. That view through ended up going up to nearly a 1x. So when I'm looking at ROAS and I'm saying, whoa, I have a 3x, actually a third of that's view through. And it used to not be that way. And I found that to be more and more consistent. So I've actually switched back to 7-day click. Again, there's not a lot of measurement and incrementality here, but you found a thread, a Twitter X post that actually was able to lean into this and measure the incrementality behind it.
Yeah, there's this woman who I personally don't know yet, but I have come to respect through X, Olivia Corey. She's one of the co-founders of House. So I follow her on X, and yeah, I saw that her and her team did an incrementality study and found that actually if you had one day view on, that it was like negative 3% in terms of incrementality, meaning you were losing 3% of incremental sales by having that setting relative to just a 7-day click setting. And this was fascinating to me because it's like, okay, like we're here sort of like putzing around, like having opinions, but there are tools now that can like help us actually understand what's going on. I forgot to mention when we were catching up before we started to record, but Andrew Ferris, like one of the ex-CTC guys, he also had a thread about this, and Yoni Levy from Facebook actually commented on it saying like, hey, have you just run the two as a split test? And so actually my question back to you, because you've actually literally specifically mentioned exactly this idea in the past. So my question to you is, how do you think about what you would do if you had a comparison between an incrementality study versus just a standard split test in platform? How would you view those two numbers, and what if they disagreed with each other?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question. I think this is sort of it's going to be these points of conflict are going to start to surface up as more and more people get accustomed and prepared with working with incrementality partners. So incrementality, to keep it simple, incrementality should be the North Star. At the end of the day, if less signal results in more incrementality, right? And when I say less signal, I'm speaking to in terms of like the optimization window. If you're saying, no, Meta, do not optimize on the view throughs, optimize on the 1-day click or optimize on the 7-day click, right? You're inherently cutting off a portion of the signal, which Meta can use to go and find that next best customer. If less signal results in higher incrementality, that should be the guiding star. And as a business operator, that's what I'm going to lean into. If there is a conflict with the split test where Meta is saying, actually, the higher ROAS, the 7-day click, 1-day view actually drives higher ROAS, and you normalize the attribution windows. You're only looking at 1-day click reporting, or you're only looking at 7-day click reporting or 7-1 reporting. And if it still were to say, well, no, we think that the 7-day click, 1-day view is what's performing better, I'm going to fall back on the incrementality test. And I'm going to then raise some questions on, well, what are other areas where my split testing may have been misguided? And I think unfortunately, and I think that it's important to sort of create that distinction where your reporting and your attribution, your analytics are simply one lens or one way of looking at what is happening to your business. It's more of just proxy metrics, but incrementality testing is actually measuring the true impact that it has on your business. You're measuring an apples to apples comparison, and you're seeing what the growth or negative impact is to your revenue, so that you can, aside from any modeling or attribution, you're able to really distinct and pinpoint what the true impact is. And so, yeah, if they were to come to a disagreement, I'm going to lean on incrementality testing. That needs to be the guiding star for all businesses. And then you need to look at big business decisions that you made off of split testing and consider rerunning those through an incrementality test, just to make sure that you didn't get misled.
Got it. Okay. Super interesting. Sorry, Yoni.
Sorry, Yoni. Man, and Yoni's a friend. That's kind of where I thought about that. I wanted to find a way that, was understanding of both sides, but
yeah, it's just,
incrementality it is in its purest form, the measure of the impact that variable has on your business. Whereas attribution is simply what the platform believes is happening. But the platform doesn't know whether or not some of those customers were actually influenced by the ad or by the optimization. You have people that were going to buy anyway. And I'm oversimplifying that, unfortunately, but that is just the way things are. I'll give you a better example that actually points this in favor of the publishers and platforms like Meta. There's a growing generation of audiences that don't click on ads at all. They see an ad, they see something they
Wait,
like.
seriously?
Yes.
Wait, where's
Yes.
this coming from?
I know
like, what is making you say this? Like, this is actually like shocking to me. Like, I'm feeling like weirdly provoked.
it is very provoking.
Yeah.
I know some of these people and I never looked into it, but there is research that's being done by platforms like Meta. And I need to go find some sources to sort of validate the research here. But, and I need also, I want to understand why, like, what is the psychology behind this? But I think part of it's this whole notion of being tracked and lack of privacy, where there's a group of people that are afraid to click on ads because they don't want to give that signal that they're interested in this thing. And so what they do is they go, okay, I'm browsing Instagram, I'm browsing Facebook or Pinterest. This looks cool. Let me close and open up Safari and go and search for this. And so if you have this customer base, and let's say it's 10% of all users.
Sure.
But you have these people that don't click on any ads and they just like, they're wired to seamlessly open up Safari and Google the thing or take a screenshot and use an image search to populate, what exactly they're looking for because they want to shop around. And like, who else carries these shoes or this t-shirt or this print or fabric? If you were to run and just look at a split test and you're not counting for these folks and these people are like, you're just looking at click.
Oh my God.
You're going to be completely misled. And so this is where an incrementality study would actually favor the platform because it's not.
Yeah.
Like the human, the marketer isn't excluding the view through and saying, oh, view throughs aren't incremental. So let's just look at the reporting, the 7-day click, 7-day click or 1-day click. But the incrementality partner like House would come back and say, hey, here's this lift. And you might actually see higher lift from the incrementality partner. You might see a higher ROAS, an incremental return on ad spend, that when you compare it to the platform, you're like, wait, this is significantly higher than what Facebook says. Why is that? Well, it could be that there's some view through that is highly incremental that you just don't account for. And so that's an interesting, very provoking thought.
Oh my God, dude, my mind is blown. I kid you not. I have never in my life considered this. I have never considered this until literally 3 minutes ago.
Go find a 16-year-old. Go find a 16, 17, maybe 18 is a little bit familiar, but like just Gen Alpha. Go find a couple of Gen Alpha people that are slowly entering the market. They're at, we're at the beginning stages, but go find some folks. And you might be able to find a couple of Gen Zers and maybe some early, late millennials that you ask them, hey, do you click on ads? Like, when you see something that you like online, how do you go and find more of it? Ask that question. And I think you'll get some very interesting sort of responses. As marketers, we're wired. It's like, oh, it's built to work this way. It's built to have a click, but that's actually not how like people are programmed. Like when you take that and you look at it in the context of non-advertising, say, you post a picture of something that's awesome, a great pair of shoes, and we're friends on Facebook. I can't click on that. What I do is I'm like, those shoes are awesome. I'm going to screenshot them and go search for them. And so that's sort of this like behavior that people are accustomed to. I think you're going to have a good portion of the population that's growing, that's not clicking on ads. So my homework is going to be to go find some research papers on this. I think we're on the early stages where this is probably not being heavily researched, but I've heard through the grapevine, major platforms that they're doing internal research to try to like explain and try to make sure that brands are prepared for this shift. And then that got my wheel spinning. And so I've started to have conversations with some people. What's missing is some third-party sources. So that'll be my homework. Maybe I'll find something for next episode.
That was incredible. Okay. I can't help but move from there to like your ads then. And also thank you, Olivia, for the, seed for all of these seeds of content for today. But she also posted something about ads on your ad network, primarily Facebook, driving not D2C revenue, but Amazon revenue. And this is like, this you and I have talked about a bunch because I mean, also I'm curious like how you thought about Prime Day a little bit in this context, but I know historically the way you viewed Amazon is just like, man, I'm investing in Meta for my D2C site. And honestly, that's what's driving the Amazon revenue too. And so I know you've always had this view, and she actually came in with some data. So again, there's like all of this spillover that I'm like sort of not fully appreciating. Yeah, how do you think about what is the right way to drive revenue through Amazon, given all of this like halo and then what you learned from Prime Day?
Yeah. So I have a lot of appreciation for the stats that she gave because it's helping guide my conversations. We've known that Meta drives awareness, which results in Amazon. And who knows, maybe it's some of that. Those people, again, that aren't clicking on those ads, they're seeing it and they're just immediately
Totally.
wired. Let me go search for this on Amazon. But and that aside, we know that it drives. And the reason we know it is actually twofold. One, we've done regression analysis or correlations. It's an Excel function. You have all of your sales, you have all of your spend, you do equals core L, and you do take the two columns and it'll tell you it'll give you a number from -1 to 1. Our core L function result is 0.96. There's a nice 0.96 correlation to my ad spend with Amazon sales. So, okay, there's something here. All right. The next reason why we know that it's incremental is because incremental to Amazon is because we had a period of efficiency where we cut our ad spend significantly, like 80% cut back in spend. And you can predict what happened to our Amazon sales. And it was funny because I didn't tell my Amazon partners this. I didn't tell them I cut back on my ad spend, but it was great to see them try to explain why sales were down without that context, right? They're like, yeah, it seems to be some lower demand. I'm like, yeah, that's lower demand because I'm not driving any awareness for you guys. But yeah, our Amazon sales absolutely plummeted, complete plummet, like massive plummet. But I've always struggled to find what is like, what is that? Like, how do you model that out? You know, $1 million in Facebook ad spend results in this ROI on Amazon. Like, we don't know. That's still very much a black box for us. That said, what we have done really well is we look at contribution margin dollars, and we look at it all week over week, month over month. And we're analyzing Shopify contribution dollars, Amazon contribution dollars, and total business contribution dollars. And when we look at it on a weekly basis, let's say, I can very clearly see when I increase my Facebook spend 30%, my Amazon sales increase 20%. When I increase my Facebook spend 10%, my Amazon sales increase 7%. And I'm able to track those sort of relationships to try to start to like come to some sense of incrementality and an incremental like halo effect that Amazon is driving. So that's been super helpful. Tracking contribution dollars. You could do ROAS, you could do top line revenue and spend as well, but doing that on a weekly basis. And then like, especially for a period where you're going to increase your spend, that's non-promotional, you know, you can just track like, okay, we increase spend and we inflate the spend 20%. What's that do to not just Shopify, but Amazon as well? If Amazon as a variable is flat, like your ad spend on Amazon's the same. So that's important to keep in mind. For Prime Day specifically, and just how do you take advantage of this? Okay, you know that Facebook spend is incremental and creates a halo effect for Amazon. How do you action that? Amazon has attribution links. So Amazon rewards outside traffic. When you refer traffic to Amazon, you go to, and it's driven to your listing and people convert off of that traffic, Amazon's like, reward this. Your sales ranking increases, your product starts getting more favorability and it performs better. And you start to kickstart this organic percentage of organic revenue from Amazon sales, like starts to kick in. And so Amazon has the ability to provide basically attribution links with UTM parameters. So you don't go and send traffic directly to the listing. You send it to the link that Amazon provides you with the UTM parameters. And there's a 48-hour delay, I believe. So I can set a budget, say I'm going to spend $500 today. I blast $500 and then I'll be able to look into Amazon's dashboard and I can see what is the attributed sales that came in through that click through. And I can then start to find a way to sort of have a percentage of spend or a fixed amount just sent over to Amazon directly. What I'm battling right now, and it kind of goes back to that point, is I don't know what's more efficient. Is it more efficient for me to just spend within Amazon's DSPs and Amazon's ad network? So like keep it within the Amazon household where the ROAS and the measurements very like closed loop? Or is it more beneficial for me to spend outside of Amazon and drive directly to Amazon, or none of the above? Is it more efficient to focus directly on Shopify and just like the sales driven by Amazon are all just cherry on top, but don't like optimizing for that. It's just going to result in loss of efficiency. So that's where I think, what Olivia has presented for us is super helpful. I think doing some sort of incrementality testing where you have the 3 scenarios at separate markets or separate cells with a holdout can be valuable to try to understand what is the right way of approaching Amazon. At this time, I don't have an answer for that.
Dude, this is fascinating. Fascinating. I mean, like, look, obviously you and I are highly biased in the importance of like using measurement to drive business decisions, but the complexity of this question, which is like, hey, should we be driving more traffic directly to Amazon? What is the benefit of that Amazon listing to the halo effect of the traffic that I'm driving even to my own site? I mean, yeah, these are like massively business impacting decisions. The fact that you have this listing on Amazon, the fact that you have this Amazon partner. I mean, like, it's like the speed with which it can impact your total business, how you spend your time, how you spend your money, if you're not measuring things effectively. Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me.
especially for a business like, especially for a business like ours, where Amazon is making up a good chunk of sales. It's gotten to the point now where we need to pay attention to it, and a bad decision, a bad investment could just eat into that margin. And so that's what's created a lot more pressure and focus and prioritizing the importance of measuring out this channel, which Amazon doesn't make it easy to do, fortunately.
Yeah, totally. Awesome, man. Well, this was an awesome discussion. Olivia, if you end up listening, we'd love to have you. All right, man. I'll see you in the next one.